Welcome to your Day 2 Classroom Teacher lesson. Let's check out our essential question. Our essential question for this module is, how do cultural beliefs and values guide people? So over the course of the whole module, we'll be thinking about that and trying to answer that question. We're going to be studying two different cultures and how their very different beliefs and values guide them and even ran them into a little bit of a conflict. Our focusing question is, how did U.S. westward expansion impact Native American cultures in the West? Now, we've been studying this question for a few days now. So think about all the people that flooded to the West and didn't think about the people that were already living there, the Native Americans. How would that impact the Native American cultures in the West? The content framing question you've been focusing on with your Great Minds teacher is, what is happening in the text, a new nation comes to Indian country? Today, in this lesson, we are really going to focus on the craft question. How does an informational text summary work? Let's get started. Your learning goal for today, and by the end of this lesson, you will be able to summarize the main idea and key details of the article, The Indian Country 1800, A Brilliant Plan for Living. We will check to see if you met this goal by drafting an informative summary. Let's recall and review. I want you to stop for a second and think back to the last videos that you've watched with the Great Minds teacher. And I want you to recall, how did the United States change after the Lewis and Clark expedition? Please pause this video and think about this question to yourself. Awesome, you're back. How did the United States change after the Lewis and Clark expedition? You might have been thinking to yourself about how all these new people and settlers were moving west for different things. Some were moving west for gold. Some were moving west to ranch. A lot of people were moving west without thinking about the people who already lived there, the Native Americans. So the U.S. changed drastically after the Lewis and Clark expedition. It nearly doubled in size. Let's review your vocabulary words. Please pause this video and add these words to your Instinct journal after I review them with you. These words will help you to be successful in today's reading and today's summary. When you're done reading each word and meaning, come back and we will keep going. So the first one is undermined, which means gradually weakened and destroyed. So weakened or eroded are synonyms. Institutions. They are established customs and activities in a society. Treaty. An agreement between two opposing sides, or a document that explains the terms of the agreement. This could also be known as a negotiation. Superseded. Took over the place of, or position of, or replaced. Invasion. An act or instance of disturbing or breaking into without being wanted, or a raid. Disputes. Arguments or debates, so conflicts, controversies. So go ahead and pause this video now and add these to your Instinct journal. Time to review. Yesterday in the Great Minds video you watched, you learned a little bit about informational text summaries. Here's some of the main points that will help you write an informational text summary. An informational text summary is much shorter than the longer text. Don't overthink this. You've been writing summaries since you were little, explaining books and whatnot. You're just explaining the longer text in a shorter version. An informational text summary tells the main or central ideas and key details of the text. So instead of a summary of a story, it's not a story that we're going to summarize. You're going to give the main idea and key details of an informational text. And an informational text summary does not include your opinions or feelings. This is solely based on facts. And finally, an informational text summary uses mostly your own words, as well as keywords from the text. You might have remembered from the video, the Great Minds teacher said, if you can retell something in mostly your own words, then you can show that you pretty much understand what you read, and that's what we're trying to do here. Let's keep reviewing what an informational text summary outline would look like. First, you're always going to start with your topic statement. This is where you state the overall main idea of the text. Next, you're going to move to your main ideas. You may have more than 3 main ideas, but it depends on how many sections there are within your text and how many different topics are discussed. For this text that we are working with, we have 3 main ideas. So first, you'll put your first main idea of the text in your own words and support it with key details. Then you'll put the second main idea of the next section and support it with key details. And then you'll put the third main idea and support it with key details. Finally, you have the concluding statement, where you reinforce the main idea of the text. This is where you restate basically the topic statement and everything else that you've talked about into 1 or 2 statements. All right, objective check. Today we are going to draft a well-developed informational text summary. Handout 3A will give you a very detailed outline that we just reviewed. To be successful, we're going to need to get our workbook so we can see these 2 really important pages. So please pause the video if you do not have your workbook with you right now and go and retrieve it. You will need Handout 2B and Handout 3A. It might help to put a Post-it on both pages to help flip back and forth. These 2 workbook pages will help you write your informational text summary. So Handout 3A is your informational text summary model and a basic outline. So we have the notes up here that we just reviewed and then the model. On Handout 2B, just like yesterday, your Great Minds teacher mentioned that you did this boxes and bullets organizer. You read the text, The Indian Country 1800, A Brilliant Plan for Living, and you already filled out the overall main idea, the main idea 1, and key details, the main idea 2 and key details, and then the main idea 3 and key details. On Handout 3A, this would be your creator section, which is main idea 1. This would be your gift section, which is main idea 2, and this would be your men and women section, main idea 3. You've already done the heavy lifting for this example. You already have the main idea of the entire text plus all 3 main idea statements. So you'll use this to help you be successful when you're writing your summary. Are you ready to write your outline of A New Nation Comes to Indian Country? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Are you ready to write your outline of The Indian Country 1800, A Brilliant Plan for Living? I'm sorry, wrong article. If you are, open up your Schoology assignment, Handout 2A Summary Organizer. It looks like this. Let's review. Directions. First, fill in the organizer below, and then next, use the outline to draft your summary paragraph. So first, on the left-hand side here, we have our parts. So we have our topic statement, our main idea 1, main idea 2, main idea 3, and our concluding statement. And then in this next column, it tells you what exactly those do. So the first one, you'll state the overall main idea of the text, and you'll put that here. Then, in this next box, you'll state the overall main idea of creators, then the main idea of gifts, then the main idea of men and women, and then your concluding statement down here. You're going to want to make sure that you support your main idea with evidence from the text, which is your key details. When you're finished, you will have a full paragraph. All you'll need to do is copy from here and paste down to the bottom. Copy here and paste down to the bottom. Copy here, paste down to the bottom. Copy here, paste down to the bottom. Copy here and paste down to the bottom. So go ahead, and pause this video, and I want you to do that assignment and press submit when you are finished. Great job on your summaries. I can't wait to read them. Let's move on to our deep dive. So today we are going to examine prepositional phrases. Here are some prepositions: above, across, against, along, alongside, among, around, at, beside, between, beyond, down, from, in, inside, into, of, out, outside, over, past, through, to, toward, under, within. You might remember some of these from one of our grammar lessons of Grammar Boot Camp. But today, instead of just looking at just the prepositions, we're going to be looking at prepositional phrases. Here are a few examples. At high speed, at one side, out of breath, in an uproar, by accident, on the road. Prepositional phrases answer where, when, what kind, which one, and how. They begin with a preposition, like you see up here. So over is the preposition. And they end with a noun. In this case, it's rainbow, a noun or a pronoun. So over the rainbow is our prepositional phrase. It begins with a preposition and it ends with a noun. Under construction tells us how. It's under, which is the preposition, and construction is the noun. Let's check for understanding. We're going to identify and sort prepositional phrases. But remember, prepositional phrases add details to sentences. Don't be tricked by infinitives. An infinitive is the word to, followed by a verb. It is not followed by a noun, like to gather or to find. To is a preposition, but gather is a verb and find is a verb. So even though to is a preposition, if it is not followed by a noun, it is not a prepositional phrase. So let's do sentence 1 and sentence 2 together of handout 3D. So I want you to get your workbook, and we're going to do these first two in the workbook, and then 3 and 4 you're going to do on Schoology in an assignment page. So let's read the sentence aloud. Actually, let's read the directions first. Underline the prepositional phrases. Determine what information this detail provides. Recopy the prepositional phrase into the corresponding column. So we have our sentence here, and it comes from a new nation comes to the Indian country. Then we have where, when, what kind, which one, and how. So, the sentence is, the Corps of Discovery had failed to find an easy route to the Pacific, and few people wanted to follow their path. So, there are two prepositional phrases in the sentence. The first is of discovery. It's telling which one. So, the Corps of Discovery. Which corps? The Corps of Discovery. There's many corps. So there's the Peace Corps, for example. So if you were asking which corps, you could say the Peace Corps. But in this case, we're not going to. We are saying the Corps of Discovery. So I want you to notice also that there is this phrase, to find. The Corps of Discovery had failed to find. Find is a verb. So to find is not a prepositional phrase. Okay, then we have to follow a little bit farther down. A few people wanted to follow their difficult path. To follow is a preposition followed by a verb. Tell me, think about it. Is to follow a prepositional phrase? No, it's not, because it's followed by a verb. Follow. So our last prepositional phrase is to the Pacific, and that is telling us where. The route where? Well, the route to the Pacific. Okay, let's go on to number 2. You can, let me go back. You can take a minute to copy this into your workbook. And when you're ready to go on to the second one, press play. Okay, let's try number 2 together. By the centennial, so the 100th year, right? So 1900, 1800, 1700, those are all centennials. So by the centennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1904, more than 6 million new people had moved to the territory first visited by the Corps of Discovery. Let me tell you, there are a ton of prepositional phrases in this sentence. So let's start out at the beginning. By the centennial is a prepositional phrase. Of the Lewis and Clark expedition is a prepositional phrase. In 1904 is a prepositional phrase. More than 6 million new people had moved to the territory, first visited by the Corps of Discovery. Look at all of these prepositional phrases. Okay, so now let's go through each one. We have by the centennial is when. Okay, because it's asking when it's happening. Well, by the centennial. Of the Lewis and Clark expedition is asking us which one. So we're talking about which expeditions of the Lewis and Clark expedition. In 1904, is also telling us when. That's a date, so that one's pretty easy. Then we have to the territory is where. So they moved. Where did they move? Well, they moved to the territory. By the Corps. So who were they visited by, or how were they visited? By the Corps. And of Discovery is which one? So which Corps of Discovery? Its name is of Discovery. Good. Okay. So take a minute, pause this video, and I want you to add this to your chart for number 2. And then I'm going to move on and give you the directions for 3 and 4. So you're going to head on over to your Schoology assignment for this one. You are absolutely free to work in your workbook for this one and then copy your answers down, but there are a couple extra questions that might help you along the way. So from the days of Columbus, European expansion was driven by stories of gold and silver waiting to be gathered up by energetic explorers. There are 4 prepositional phrases in this one. That's your hint. So for anybody that doesn't watch this video, they're not going to know there's 4. So the question that you're going to be asked on Schoology is you're going to be asked which one of those phrases are prepositional phrases, and you have to pick all 4. And then you're going to be asked to sort them into each column. Then for number 4, ranching attracted thousands of outsiders to the Indian country. There are 2 prepositional phrases here. So again, you're going to be asked what they are, and then you're going to be asked to sort them. So when you're done with your Schoology assignment, you are done for this lesson for today. Great job!